Yas Queen. I don't know why I decided to start off this saying that, but I did. That is what I did, and I did do that. I did do that thing. Okay, where we left off last time, I don't fully remember. I think we were trying to implement the... That is... There we go. That is that. So I don't know. I think I was trying to implement this, where the camera changes if you're actually crouching. Changes if you're actually crouching, and how that movement is going to be. So like if you're holding crouch, you crouch through that entire movement, so you have to fully commit to movements. That's probably good. And yeah. So let me think. Okay, so this is the player crouching, camera height. Essentially the way it's going to work is I'm going to have the player either crouch. Whenever they crouch, the camera is supposed to go down or lower to a central middle position. Movement of that there. Hello. And crouch toggle is crouch is not crouch. So currently it does work with the physical movement. So if you're crouching, you move much slower. So I needed to make it so the camera actually goes down to a physically lower position whenever the camera is, whenever that button is pressed or crouch is held. So currently I have the camera moving right now. This is camera moving right here. So camera to position right here. So yeah, that's what I need to do. Okay. The camera to change height depending on whether or not you are crouching. Input check, if point, if click. This just checks to see if okay, so I'm just thinking. Whoops. I'll move to point, crouch toggle. So this means whenever it's activated, so whenever it's toggled, it will switch to the crouching to true or false. I made it so if you hold crouch and shift, you are sprinting. I'm going to make sprint take priority. So here at movement, crouch toggle, function get is crouching, return is crouch, func get is sprinting, return is sprint. Just, yeah, you move much faster. There we go. And so from here, print, crouching, movement dot get is crouching, crouching, print, sprint, movement dot get is sprinting. So beautiful. Sprinting. So the current plan is this. If movement dot get is crouching, not grouching, crouching, so the current way it works is that okay, wait, no, this doesn't fully work, because if you release the crouch button in the middle of a movement, that means that the camera will go back up to the top position, but that means your speed will not change. Therefore, what I can do is whenever you click, it provides a check for that specific movement. So move to point whenever you, essentially, whenever you press the click button. So whenever you click, it does this, move position to point. When I do this, in the exact same way that we use a temporary a boolean right here, we can use a temporary var movement crouch check. So what we do is when you click, because if you're crouching and you, sorry, if you, dot is crouching, I need to get that out of the way for a second. Yeah, you do speed up. I don't want you to be able to speed up. That is a current issue. So what we do is we have a check happen. So in other words, what I'm thinking in particular is that this movement script is going to have this variable, which is the movement decided for one movement. So in other words, when you click on something, it takes the current state if you're either crouching or sprinting or normal standing, and it essentially sets that for your the entirety of that movement for that. So when you so it doesn't matter. So after you click, it doesn't matter what button you press on the keyboard. You will move to this next position at a single constant rate. Currently, it switches at a whim because of this. Because whenever you release control, or it essentially switches the amount of movement speed. And this doesn't work because of okay, so this sets the timer, and this actually does the movement, and it currently doesn't fully work. Move to point is only ever called once. This just sets move to true, and once it finishes, it sets it back to false. So, okay, do I have a get is moving? I do. So what I can do instead is just trying to figure it out in my head, like unravel it. So what I can actually physically do is something like this. Okay, so this is one movement point. So this only runs once. We know this because, wait, does it only run once? When it's clicked, if movement point, and it isn't moving. So yeah, it only runs once, and it can only work when it's moving. MCR check is equal to is crouching movement var m movement sprinting check sprint movement decided for one movement. So it's that for both. So m sprint check is equal to is sprint. And what we do is this, 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 this. And we repeat that for the move. So now, if I'm crouching and I release crouching and I sprint, yeah, you see now it only moves at a one specific rate, and it allows me to change it whenever you click. Because of that, I don't. If I do this, I can change it to return MCR this, and MSPCH, meaning it's returning when if I do is crouching, if you're not crouching, then camera position is, well, self-dot position, but camera height standing, height crouching, and if I'm doing this, then this needs to start at false, and this needs to start at false, because it will call it and it will find nothing, and it will just break because because if you find an empty, essentially it has nothing to refer to. Now if movement dot get, no, it's just, I just need an else because it's either one or the other. I take this, I put it right here, height standing. So if I do that, did go down. If get is crouching is true. But it only ever sets it when that's happening, meaning the other way I could have done it, which was much, much easier. Was essentially like this. If movement dot get is moving. No, wait, but that doesn't work because if I uncrouch while, because of the release segment, because it's a toggle. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a weird bind. So currently it starts at false, meaning it should be at the... That is the lower one, is it not? So this means it just pass. Movement dot get is crouching. That will reduce a false, which will do a true. So that one is running. Why does it look like it's in his stomach, though? Like, in 3D, that should be... Okay, so what in the test we can do, okay, have a toggle where that's a lot of effort for a test. Okay, I'm just trying to figure things out again. So that does seem extremely low. Yeah, no, that is the camera view from there. Like, what was it again? Perspective go dot. So you select the camera through and do that. Where is the... Nope, it's the camera. Oh, there's the preview. So yeah, currently it is at that much lower position. And this isn't working because... Well, that is anyway, so... Wait, when movement.get is crouching, when that is true, then height should be at crouching. So wait a minute. Doesn't this work? So like, if we're here, I press crouch. Did I get them mixed around? Okay, so currently it's at false, and this goes to... Oh, right, when crouching is true. I'm stupid. Currently, the game doesn't physically crouch you whenever you do press the crouch button. Meaning what I can do is in movement, whenever crouch toggle is pressed, we do a weird thing where if toggle where this equals is crouch, that will give us the exact same problem we have before. However, only if yeah, but that will not release in a sense. In other words, this comes like, so like if is moving is not true, so this won't fully work because, yeah, you see it works here, but the thing is if I start moving, or sorry, if I crouch, press release crouch, when we get to the end, we won't pop back up. Well, we could do this. C that is equal to is crouch. That would work. And I've released the crouch button. Yeah, that works. That works beautifully. I'm a genius. So essentially, whenever you press the crouch button, you physically crouch. When you move to go somewhere and you've released the crouch button, it performs another check to sit it correctly. The sprint doesn't matter because the sprint doesn't physically move the camera, which we're using for this. Meaning this works great. Hooray! Hooray! And the movement works correctly. Move speed. If I wanted to, I can make the sprint. I'm thinking I'll play around with these once it actually starts like to mean something, but right now it doesn't. So I don't really have to deal with it right now. What's next? So this allows me, the player, to move from here to here, and this is going to be as if though it's, what do you call it? As if though it's like positions in a hallway. So this movement point specifically is going to be like at the end of a long corridor. So if I take some just temporary mesh instances, make them boxes, edit them. How do I edit them again? Yeah, so like I go take them, move over here. Now, which one's scale? That's rotate, scale, right. So if I just take this, jammy like this, jammy like this, duplicate it, move it to here. That's essentially the end of a hallway. So I can move to the end of a hallway. The issue I have right now is that this allows me to, and what I can do from here is put another box of this. Like I take this movement point, I can put it at the very end of the hallway. If that transform, that's going to this middle transform, I think. So if, for example, if I take this, just the collision, not that, and I click on it, where will you go? Yes, it will go to that, meaning I can take this collision point, move it further right here. And I'm doing this so if I, for example, have rotating 90 degrees, just roughly for now, and I have this right here, and I have another movement right here, I can still click on it instead of it being hidden behind a wall. It has to be a bit of a fine-tuning because I don't want to be able to click the sides of it, just the area, so maybe I can squeeze it down quite a bit because I still want the walls next to you. You see, like there, I don't have the walls next to me. So this goes here. This physically goes here. And I want to go to the end of the hallway. Is it being a little weird? That's there. So if I take this, put it there, take this, put it there. Yeah, okay, so. And again, bit of fine tuning. We take this, put it around. Well, that doesn't really need to change. This, I figured it's fine. That moves both of them. So yeah, that needs to go around there. That goes around there. But that's just cosmetic things. I can follow that up or fix that up any time in the future. Make it fill up the whole hallway. Top to bottom. And there we go. The difficulty and complexity and stuff like this comes when I want to do things. This actually doesn't work. I have to have these in the same position or else this is forever blocking the area in front of me. I could do something where whenever you click on one, it disables it, and whenever you click on another one, it enables everything else, but that seems like having a mountain of lists. I think I can get around this by just having clever... Well... Can I have an ignore? How do I ignore a specific, how to make a ray cast in go.ignore specific collision shapes. Okay, so if I go to this script, movement, hover it, the query, it creates it. True and false. I could do query.exclude. Sorry. The exclusion equals self. For now, you obviously don't want to collide with yourself. And Okay, so what we do here is that we have a var future var exclusion, and after result is found, like once you click on something and once it gets returned, we do a exclusion equals result dot collider. And what this does is currently it is equal to null exclusion. Why are you screaming at me? Unreachable code. Oh, right. It's... I'm a genius. I'm going to college for this. So this should work. I could also make it... I can also try result not a collider. So essentially, the way we test this is simple. We go to 3D. We create a plus static body 3D. I'm just doing this temporarily. This is movement point 2. And you, my friend, need a collision shape 3D. You are a box. We put it right on this side. Nope, we move the entire thing over. Then we edit the shape. And we make it actually big so you can touch it. Really big for this test. Make it just drastic. Then we can move the entire thing all the way over here. So what will happen is that you click on it. Why are you yelling at me? Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then you click again. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Wait. Currently, this is a dull script. Groups movement point. So you are in that group. So there. And to make it even more drastic, this collision is going to be, collider is going to be right in front of it, meaning if I click there, it works beautifully. Yes! So essentially what this does, and currently I'm getting an error because the first time it runs, just wait, if exclusion, this doesn't work. Come on. I can just do it like this. So if exclusion is filled, there we go, done with the error. I am so smart. I am the smartest of men. Not women, though. They're scary. Hope to talk to one day. So this works great. So essentially what this does is that whenever you click on any object, it essentially excludes it from being able to be clicked a second time. Meaning it works beautifully for things like this. So let's say I have this object right here, in a position, so like on this side of the hull, rotate that 90 degrees like this. That's about right. You can put this right here, and then you can click on, I can click on this side of the wall. I'll implement the rotating later, but now I can move over to that side of the wall, rotate, and then turn around and not have to worry about this hitbox in particular. And because it creates an entirely new raycast every single time, whenever, by hovering over the mouse, like whenever the mouse is hovering over anything, essentially, you'd never have to worry about the next time you click on another thing, it frees up the original and it's able to be clicked on again. This is much, much easier than my first attempt. I haven't said this. This is my, what do you call it? My third attempt making this exact game, and I keep making mistakes that are unfixable in nature. By the way, I mean is like I keep building upon flawed systems and making things incredibly overcomplicated for themselves. So this is my third time restarting and implementing much, much easier ways to do this. Like, for example, the first time is I essentially had a list holding every single movement point, every single one, and whenever you would click on anything, it would disable and enable the correct one, which is a lot of code, which could have just been avoided with this. Just that. Not even the if, just the exclude. I forgot that it existed, and I regret it immensely. So now at this point, I think that currently there's, thinking about this in a logical way, I think that here is where I just, one moment for my brain thinking. So movement point 2, we can edit you. I said we can edit you. Stop resisting. There. 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 Just temporarily, you're beautiful. And just quickly, Inspector, your transform at Y has not changed. Your transform at Y. This is important because if they every single one of these nodes points has to be at the exact same height. If they're not at the same height, then the character moves up and down because it's going, because this player is just moving to that. It's a point and click adventure game with real-time elements. So now I need to rotate. Yeah, baby. And we're sprinting down it too. Okay, the next thing is rotating. I think that the easiest thing to implement is, or currently the easiest thing to implement is, first is turning the player around like 360 degrees. I know that, like, just project settings, because I have been assaulted by this. These built-in actions can be extremely useful, just like these are like a mountain of pre-built actions that can just allow you to not worry about a lot of the intrinsic or natural movements that you've built up using a computer naturally. The issue is like, as I've had problems before, for example, filter by event, I have had times where I've been trying to use the spacebar as an action using a HUD, and those pre-built-in actions can interact with the HUD, so it was interacting with the HUD in just ways that I simply didn't understand because I didn't know those pre-built actions were part of Godot, but they are. So keep those in mind when building things and interacting with things and things in general. Ay, Dios mío. So when rotating, you go immediately to the end of the hallway. Now there's multiple things I can do. I can hold like specific rotation points in the... Could I have it just rotate to this point? I mean, no, not really, but just across the X and Y axis. Like, the thing... Okay, so if I rotate, I go here. Inspector, the transform. Just this. This is the Y. So, can I rotate the camera, and just the camera, towards that point in particular? So the other current issue is that the way I have it done is that you click on this wall, you go here, and you stop right here. You click on this, you go here. And if you're able to turn around and click on this, you will go right back here. And that's where the weirdness starts to come in, and where the great complexity happens with things like this. Because imagine in a point-and-clicker game, you click on this doorway, and suddenly, like, there's like either a screen transition, and suddenly you're seeing new artwork of something in here. I mean, you essentially just have to do an if click go here. But when you're implementing 3D movement into something like this, if you're coming from this side of the hall or this side of the hall, and you both and you click on this one, so you're standing either here or here, you want the player to move here and face this way, or move here and face the other way. Meaning the end result is that you have essentially a bunch of contingencies, and it gets messy. What works for one doesn't fully work for others. So, for example, if I am here, I want the player to move towards here. I want the player to move towards there. However, there could be what I call a rotation point. No, but that means there need to be two rotation points. If I put a physical object in space, like I put an object in space right here, that if you're standing here and you click on this and the camera rotates to this point in space, that means the camera will rotate from looking in this direction to looking in that direction. Slowly. The issue is that if I'm over here and I click on this, I would need another rotation point over here and the ability to differentiate where I am in relation to this hitbox, or else I'll just turn around whenever I click on this. Which is essentially the main issue, because which is why I want to try something in particular. And that is the camera to position. We're going to do a function called func camera rotation delta. Pass for now. Camera dot rotate. Is there a rotate towards? How do you only rotate the x-axis? What is that? angle from one point to another. Okay, sorry, I'm just doing a wee bit of research on my second monitor, just figuring out what button does. I'm looking at stuff. I'm trying. I'm trying. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to do a pass for now. First of all, var the rotation speed should just be var rotation speed. That should be exported at export. Currently, let's have that just equal to 10. I don't know what that's going to look like. It might snap instantly and aggressively, or it could be incredibly slow. I'm not sure. Okay, so does this have access to the camera? It does. Beautiful. I'm going to put this over here. Move and rotate camera delta. Move to point. Close this. Move. Func. Rotate cam delta. Currently just pass. So camera dot rotation dot y. And the direction is for when you move, player dot position dot is going to move point. Move point is equal to, like, if check mouse result equals collider. Movement, move to point, move to point, move to point, end point, move point. Yes, so it is that camera dot rotation y is equal to something. It is equal to a tan 2. This needs a y float and a b float. Var direction, so the direction you're supposed to be looking is equal to move point dot global position minus camera dot global position rotation.y. Then what you do is direction. Am I spelling things right? I don't know why, but my brain just decided to 0. So what we do now is direction dot x, direction dot z. Now, why are you booing me? Parameter delta is never used. You are right. I forgot it existed. Whoopsie poopsie. Okay, so what happens when we do this? It explodes. Right, it's a vector 3. I'm not exactly referring to an object because I got the collider, which just gets me that position. Okay, so isn't it just that? Whoa. That was incorrect. How about we take this rotation speed down to a 0.5, let's say. Did we use that? Wait, no, am I... This is in movement. This just... Oh, that snaps it to it. I think I'm a little dumb, guys. Oh. Oh, that just snaps to it. Okay, so this just snaps to it. This is, however, it isn't exactly the end result because, again, it turns around 90 degrees. What if I do this then? Plus? Does plus work? No. What happens if I do this? It's what? Oh, it's still the plus, of course. Now it'll work, right? It does. It didn't. It did. Because in comparison to that, this is over there. Meaning the rotation or the rotation you're going towards is forever in that angle, meaning I am at a big stinky problem. I could do a thing where, since my game is only going to be right angles, no, because that would still require me to, I just want you to work. How's that? Why can't you just work? Okay, so currently, player, this never used, so I can just eliminate that. It's good to just remove them, or else things like that just start piling up. An unfortunate amount. Okay, so this goes there. That does. This is just snapping to it temporarily. If I go here, I take my little boy, I jam him over there, I rotate him. Nope. That rotation doesn't matter. And I rotate my camera to look at that. First of all, what happens there? Yeah. And it doesn't matter where I click, correct? Yeah, okay, so... And what if the player is over here? So it's on the left side in comparison. Yeah, it is angling towards it perfectly instead of... So a good example is that this angle, like, so this to this is like that. So, or it's in that direction. So when you click on it, it goes that way instead of looking down the hallway. So I could have it snap. I could have it snap to the nearest 90 degrees. Like, because number one, let me move that back. Because the essentially I'm going to be working in right angles. Everything is going to be in right angles, or like because it's the building or the game is going to take place in a newspaper building. Essentially, what I can do is whenever you click on anything, instead of like worrying about specific angles, I can have it snap to the nearest 90 degrees. And in doing so, I can have the player just essentially go forward, snap. That does limit me to only working in 90 degrees. But I think for now, like, because this camera rotation, that, we know this doesn't work. So we can do this. Var target rotation is that. Target rotation is that. Target rotation, we round it. We're rounding the target rotation. This is a little formula I am looking up. I am not taking credit for coming up with this on the spot because that would put me on a pillar. Pi divided by 2.0. Right. Okay, so wait a minute. Multiplied by pi divided by 2, not 20, 2.0, and camera dot rotation dot y is equal to target rotation, or just rotation, I think. So what happens now? It explodes. Is that, yeah, I think that was necessary. Okay, boom, boom. Oh, it did. It did rotate it to the nearest 90 degrees. The thing is that the nearest 90 degrees is directly in front of me. How do I do it the second closest 90 degrees? I feel like that's more complicated than the than the normal one. God, that's because the thing is, when I'm here, and I click on this, the closest 90 degrees is this, is right here, meaning the second closest 90 degrees is this, because this in this corner, if this is the angle, then it snaps to here. I need it to snap to the second one. Well, that's horrifically confusing. How in the world do I do that? Okay, let me look at stuff. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to get this done. Or actual target rotation. Because I don't know why I don't want to delete that, and I don't know why. So this is just the raw angle. The closest happens when we do this. So var that target rotation, the actual target rotation that we want, which is of course a float. If target rotation, which is just the end rotation, is greater than the target rotation then actual target rotation equals the target rotation minus pi divided by 2.0, else the actual target rotation is equal to that target rotation plus I divided by 2.0. And now we go to the actual target rotation, and if this works, I'm gonna beat myself over the head. That doesn't work when you're trying to go into a straight line. And out for tomorrow. Fix this, you moron. P.S. Love you. Yep, that's gonna do it for today. I think I'm gonna bash my head into a wall while I try to figure this out. Bye-bye.